Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Young here and welcome to a Metal Gear Solid 5 news update. The following information comes courtesy of the latest issue of Japanese magazine Famitsu, which was translated by websites such as Siliconera and Polygon. Kojima once again treaded familiar ground, but revealed some new information while at it. The first topic of discussion revolved around the game's open world. Kojima wanted to clarify that MGS5 isn't open in the sense that Snake will be fishing all day, changing jobs, or pursuing different lives and what have you. In other words, it's no Grand Theft Auto 5 or Life Simulator. MGS5's world is open for players to freely roam around in, but the goals are clearly laid out, and the open world allows players to choose their own paths and methods to achieve these goals. Types of goals include helping someone, destroying something, or gathering intelligence at certain spots, and Kojima stated that some missions will even have time limits, but all in all, the open world will serve to bridge the gap between cutscene and infiltration or extraction. In past games, players will be shown a cutscene to transition into showing how Snake infiltrated an area or facility and how he got out, but now players will be making these decisions and playing through them. Also, I mentioned in previous videos that I believe that a loadout system similar to Peace Walkers will likely make a return, and it seems as though that will be the case based on something that Hideo Kojima said during the interview. Quote, "It'd be fun if you were the one thinking about how and where to infiltrate, what sort of equipment to bring, and how to get out of there." Kojima and company then visited familiar topics, talking about how they believe they haven't communicated very well the integration of an open world, which is what's causing concerns amongst journalists and fans, while promising that once players try the game out, they will feel like they're playing MGS. They also reiterated that Ground Zero serves as a prologue episode, not only in terms of story, but also in terms of gameplay, with the purpose of easing players into the vast open world of the Phantom Pain. Kojima also mentioned something we never knew before. He stated that while core mechanics will be similar for both Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, the user interface for the two parts will be different. Unfortunately, he did not specify beyond this, but if I were to guess, I would say Phantom Pain's interface will likely be an expanded version of Ground Zeroes, since we already know that the latter will be holding back many mechanics to ease players into the main game. Kojima also talks a bit about the story aspects of Ground Zeroes, saying that players need to play the prologue first because otherwise they would not understand why retaliation is one of the main themes of Metal Gear Solid 5, and also stated that Ground Zeroes really is the ground zero of Snake's story. For those who don't know, Ground Zero is defined as a starting point or base of some activity. In other words, Ground Zeroes will likely show the events that begin Snake and Kaz's quest for revenge and retaliation. So with this interview, we now know three important themes for Metal Gear Solid 5: race, revenge, and retaliation. Kojima proceeded by talking about using next-generation cloud computing to create a, quote, next-generation social game world. I don't really know what that means, and unfortunately Kojima doesn't provide much detail, but he does say the following: "If I could give you a hint, for MGS5, we often talk in terms of removing the rules. Instead of restricting players with the game design, we want to have it so that players advance the way they want to. For example, in an infiltration mission, it's pretty rare that you go in without any support or intelligence. You have spies and advanced forces. You have scouts set up a route for you." End quote. Could Kojima possibly be hinting at cooperative play, during which various players play different support or intelligence roles to aid the infiltrator in completing missions? If so, perhaps it's all tied into the game's base management system and recruiting system, similar to how Peace Walker's co-op mode and soldier deployment features revolved around Mother Base and its staff members. So perhaps Kojima is hinting at a vastly expanded version of Peace Walker's co-op mode, and perhaps all of this is part of the Metal Gear Online infrastructure. It's hard to say at this point what exactly Kojima is planning with Cloud, but cooperative play that somehow ties into Diamond Dogs and its base management system, and Metal Gear Online is my personal best guess. Finally, Kojima explained why he used the tagline Tactical Espionage Operations, which was first introduced in Peace Walker, rather than Tactical Espionage Action. He stated clearly that the reason is because Metal Gear Solid 5 is essentially mixing old MGS games, Peace Walker, and this open world together. I know some of you were hoping that Metal Gear Solid 5 would be more like an open-world version of Metal Gear Solid 3, but Kojima's words seem to clearly indicate that my assumption from previous videos were true. Metal Gear Solid 5's mission structure will be an expanded version of Peace Walkers. As I put it before, MGS5 essentially answers the question, what if Peace Walker wasn't limited by PSP's weak hardware and was instead created for powerful consoles through a next-generation engine? This means MGS5 will likely feature a mission selection menu, a loadout system, and a base management system that allows players to recruit new soldiers and develop new weapons and technology. I know some of you are worried about this structure being implemented in a console MGS game, but that's probably because you're thinking with a Peace Walker mindset. Due to technological limitations, Peace Walker was very menu-based, but in Metal Gear Solid 5, expect everything to be more interactive. For example, in Ground Zero's footage, you could see that mission selection occurs in a helicopter, which could be indication that players can physically navigate Snake around his base, whether it be Mother Base or Diamond Dogs, and physically get on a chopper to bring up the mission selection menu. Also, for those worried about the missions themselves not feeling as epic as something like Snake Eater, keep in mind that Peace Walker's missions were meant to be played in bite-sized portions to fit the portable nature of the PSP, but MGS5 is a console game, so missions will likely be much larger in scale, meant to be played in much larger portions, and will likely feel more like traditional console Metal Gear Solid missions. Just have a little faith. Before I take my leave, I would like to talk about one last tidbit that Kojima says. Right after he says that they are mixing old MGS, Peace Walker, and this open world, his next sentence goes as follows. There's another world waiting within that mix, and it's one I hope you're looking forward to. It's anybody's guess what he meant by that. He could just be talking about Metal Gear Online or this co-op theory of mine, but he could also be referring to something that he has yet to introduce for single player. We'll have to wait and see. And with that, I would like to conclude this news update. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to let our nation know in the comments below your thoughts and theories on all this information. And to be further updated on Metal Gear Solid 5, be sure to join the nation and subscribe to Young Ye. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much, and Young out!